voted to leave the European Union.
The Article 50 process is now underway, and in accordance with the wishes of the British people, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union. This is an historic moment from which there can be no turning back. I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Let's be clear. We have not changed the principles that we set out in the manifesto. As we ran this campaign, we set out to consider the issues that are the key priorities for the British people.
The Prime Minister has spoken with me this morning, and we will enter discussions with the Conservatives to explore how it may be possible to bring stability to our nation.
Just been to see Her Majesty the Queen, and I will now form a government that can provide certainty and lead Britain forward at this critical time for our country. This government will guide the country through the crucial Brexit talks that begin in just 10 days.
My government's priority is to secure the best possible deal as the country leaves the European Union. My
collective decision of Cabinet was that the government should agree the draft withdrawal agreement and the outline political declaration. This is a decision which is in the best interests of our entire United Kingdom. I'm confident that this takes us significantly closer to delivering on what the British people voted for in the referendum.
You are not delivering the Brexit people voted for, and today you will lose the support of many Conservative MPs and millions of voters across the country.
I do not pretend that this has been a comfortable process, or that either we or the EU are entirely happy with all of the arrangements that have been included within it. Mr. Speaker, when I first became Prime Minister in 2016, there was no ready-made blueprint for Brexit. Many people said it could simply not be done.
This is not the deal the country was promised, and Parliament cannot, and I believe will not, accept a false choice between this bad deal and no deal.
Britain is possibly counting down towards the end of Theresa May's premiership, who has been a walking disaster since Article 50 was triggered in March 2017, and who has likely deliberately wasted the past 18 months in doing an exit deal with the EU devil that effectively keeps the UK within the EU, a deal where nearly every British red line has been watered down towards nothing, in what amounts to a 585-page suicide note, one of virtually delivering Britain on a platter to the European Union mafia, which from the outset had sought to extract a heavy price from Britain, such as €50 billion divorce bill, free movement of people, Northern Ireland effectively split from the rest of the UK, and there's 500 more pages of similar poison in the text, all in exchange for Britain to remain within a customs union just for a few more years. In fact, the more I look into the contents of this 585-page suicide note, the worse it appears. For instance, any member of the EU can supposedly vote to leave the EU on 2 years' notice. However, this so-called deal states that the UK cannot leave the EU without the EU's permission. Thus, the deal is designed to permanently keep the UK within the EU as a second-class member state. So getting rid of Theresa May looks like a necessary step towards avoiding the catastrophe of a so-called Brexit deal, against which my view from the outset of the triggering of Article 50 has been that it is in Britain's best interest to leave the European Union without a deal. In fact, at the time, I laid out a Brexit strategy that Britain could follow that would ensure the time between March 2017 and March 2019 was not wasted falling into the European Union's Brexit negotiations trap that Theresa May not only fell into as a Remainer, but made things 10 times worse following Theresa May's disastrous decision to call a general election on the 8th of June 2017 that delivered chaos and uncertainty instead of strong and stable, which not only further shocked Britain's political and media establishment, but also hit the UK economy hard, effectively suffering a heart attack with confidence fast evaporating as the economy slowed, which to this day makes a mockery of the likes of the Bank of England MPC persisting with their talk of raising UK interest rates. And along with the evaporating economic confidence has been the evaporation in confidence in Britain's housing market, which I recently covered in another article and video. Theresa May was and remains the wrong person in the wrong job at the wrong time, who even surprised me by just how badly she has steered Britain through Brexit these past 2 years, leaving Britain effectively paralysed in the countdown to the 29th of March 2019 Brexit Day. So the time has come to get rid of this walking disaster area in favour of someone who has the balls to carry out the settled will of the British people, one of leaving the European Union.
Statement. The Attorney General.
There is therefore no unilateral right for either party to terminate this arrangement. I make no bones about it. I would have preferred to have seen a unilateral right of termination in this backstop.
Is it possible that the United Kingdom could find itself locked in the backstop forever against our will? Yes. I have considered the matter carefully, and I am satisfied that there is an arguable case that a contempt has been committed. I am therefore giving precedence to a motion to be tabled tonight before the House rises and to be taken as first business tomorrow, Tuesday. It will then be entirely for the House to decide on that motion.
Theresa May's government is now in a full-blown crisis following MPs today voting to find the UK government ministers in contempt of Parliament for the first time ever.
The ayes to the right, 311. The noes to the left, 293.
Which is basically MPs sending a message to the government that they are no longer acting in a democratic manner, instead of acting as a dictatorship in contempt over the failure to publish the full legal advice given to the government by the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, on the consequences of the May Backstop BrExit Deal.
This House has now spoken, and it's of huge constitutional and political significance. It is, I think, unprecedented for this House to find government ministers in contempt.
In light of the expressed will of the House, we will publish the final and full advice provided by the Attorney General to Cabinet.
This is an unprecedented event that puts Theresa May's government, let alone a premiership, teetering on the brink of collapse in the countdown to the vote on a Brexit deal on the 11th of December. So the government is teetering on the brink of collapse, which means they expect more Commons defeats in the countdown to the vote on the EU Withdrawal Act. Today's events are just the latest saga in the attempts by Britain's political and corporate establishment to subvert the settled will of the British people who voted to leave the European Union, which was supposedly to be achieved via the May Backstop Deal, a plan that Britain's Attorney General yesterday confirmed would mean that Britain could never actually leave the European Union without the EU's permission, which, as Donald Tusk late last week reminded the UK of there being a stark choice of either the May deal or no Brexit, which means that the EU is determined to keep Britain shackled to the European superstate in perpetuity, as in a 43-page document titled EU Exit Legal Position. the Attorney General Geoffrey Cox confirmed that the UK would be indefinitely committed to the EU customs rules under the May Backstop Deal. In fact, the document and an earlier leaked document contradict virtually everything that is spewed out of Theresa May's mouth concerning a Brexit plan, as EU law would continue to be applied across the spectrum of trade and governance, which is more or less what Brian Cox confirmed in a statement to the House of Commons.
There is therefore no unilateral right for either party to terminate this arrangement.
So this is just further confirmation, if any were needed, that Theresa May, a Remainer Prime Minister, has spent the past 18 months to deliver a plan at the last minute that would permanently keep the UK within the European Union. A Brexit in name only, not in practice. So on the 11th of December, MPs will vote either for or against the May plan, which following today's defeat, there is virtually zero chance that MPs will vote on the May plan. Following which, my view is that the most probable outcome is for a Tory leadership challenge to remove this inept, disastrous Prime Minister and hopefully put a Brexiteer in charge who can finally start the real exit negotiations for a deal or no deal Brexit on the 29th of March 2019. Meanwhile, last week the Bank of England was out in force pushing anti-Brexit propaganda to a new extreme with a string of economic apocalypse warnings, including a 30% crash in UK house prices, which was at the top of its doom list. This graph illustrates what the Bank of England's 30% crash in house prices would look like if it were to materialise post-Brexit. And here's a summary of the Bank of England's no deal crash propaganda warnings, ranging from economic crash, that's an 8% drop in GDP, then there's the house prices 30% crash, sterling 25% crash, commercial property 50% crash, unemployment soaring to nearly 8%, inflation soars to 6.5% plus, and of course the Bank of England warns it will raise interest rates to 5.5%. And this is a summary of the Government and Bank of England's GDP propaganda forecast of what they expect to happen to the UK economy under various Brexit scenarios, coupled against my own forecast as of February 2016. The bottom line is that Britain's establishment elite, that's 80% of MPs, remain determined to subvert Brexit through the use of insidious, undemocratic measures, that of engineering an outcome that means the UK fails to leave the European Union. This is subversion and possibly sows the seeds for even a British revolution. And do remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel for new videos